Why some in the Democratic Party incite violence with their rhetoric and struggle to engage without civil dialogue. The Democratic Party has long positioned itself as the champion of justice and equality, but in recent years, its rhetoric has become increasingly hostile and divisive. Instead of fostering dialogue, some Democratic leaders and activists resort to inflammatory speech that borders on incitement. This pattern raises important questions. Why do certain Democrats lean so heavily on divisive language? And why do they struggle to have a genuine dialogue without framing opponents as enemies? 1. Examples of incendiary rhetoric. Several well-known Democratic figures have openly used combative language that can be interpreted as a call to confrontation. Congresswoman Maxine Waters once urged her supporters to confront Trump administration officials in public spaces, saying, "You push back on them. You tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere." Such rhetoric blurs the line between peaceful protest and mob intimidation. Similarly, Senator Chuck Schumer, standing outside the Supreme Court, declared that Justices Kavanaugh and Gorsuch would pay the price for their rulings, words that sounded more like a threat than a critique. When rhetoric escalates to this level, it can embolden activists to cross the line into harassment or violence. 2. The media's role in amplification. The left-leaning mainstream media often rewards Democrats who speak in extreme terms. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, for example, frequently describes political opponents as fascists or white supremacists, language that grabs headlines and trends on social media. While such terms energize her base, they also demonize millions of Americans who may simply hold different political views. The media amplifies this narrative, creating an echo chamber that normalizes inflammatory speech while discouraging thoughtful dialogue. 3. Demonization of political opponents. Instead of seeing Republicans as fellow Americans with different philosophies, some Democrats paint them as existential threats. President Joe Biden has referred to MAGA Republicans as a danger to democracy itself. Hillary Clinton once labeled Trump supporters a basket of deplorables. These phrases do not open the door for discussion. They shut it completely by vilifying half the electorate. When opponents are branded as dangerous or morally bankrupt, compromise and civil debate become impossible. 4. The legacy of protest politics. Democrats often align with activist movements that thrive on confrontation, whether it was the Occupy Wall Street movement, Black Lives Matter protests, or the resistance movement during Trump's presidency. While protest is a vital, democratic tool, its rhetoric is often designed to provoke and disrupt, not to engage in dialogue. When this style of language carries over into mainstream politics, it feeds division rather than fostering solutions. 5. The strategy behind divisive speech. For some Democrats, divisive rhetoric is not accidental. It is strategic. It energizes voters by presenting politics as a moral battle between good and evil. It also shifts focus away from policy failures by rallying the base around outrage. However, this strategy is dangerous. When citizens are told that their neighbors are threats to democracy, it justifies hostility and sometimes violence in the name of political righteousness. Conclusion. Some Democrats incite violence with their rhetoric and avoid genuine dialogue because outrage politics serves their short-term interests. By vilifying opponents, they energize their base and capture media attention. However, the long-term cost is devastating. Increased polarization, broken trust, and a society where violence becomes more acceptable than debate. True leadership requires more than fiery slogans and partisan attacks. It requires the humility to engage in respectful dialogue, even with those one strongly disagrees with. Until Democrats, and politicians in general, move away from incendiary speech, the nation will continue to suffer under the weight of division.